Right. Man, after the old rugged cross, I was ready for like some sawdust and fried chicken. I don't know about the rest of you. That was good. I was like, okay, this is a throwback. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, I remember the tent meetings, with the sawdust on the floor. Anybody else ever experienced that? Yeah, and the potluck afterwards, which is really why we were there. And yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So thank you. I was going to say something about Jason too before he gets too far out the door. He's already gone. He's halfway home by now. But oh, he peeked back in. There he is. Jason, and we blew past this, but Jason and Lisa have been here now for over 5 years. So they've been here for over 5 years, which exceeded our expectations by about 3.5 years. So that's good. Because we hired Jason, and the second we hired Jason, every single family left that had kids during COVID. And so I think his first youth group, there were one of them, and one kid and like 6 helpers, right? It was a really strong teacher-to-child ratio. And I think the first pit stop trip, 3 kids, 6 kids, and 4 adults. 6 kids and 4 adults on the first pit stop trip 4 years ago, I believe, 5 years ago. And I'm completely off on every number that I'm spitting, so I'm going to stop doing that. But now to see that there's 41 people going, there's the adult buy-in, just what we're seeing from our youth, their camaraderie, how much they love each other, and how much they lean on each other, and to watch some of them go through hard times, and to see the other youth gather around them, and just be the church, and it's impressive. Jesus is amazing, but the truth is, if it wasn't for Jason being here and fostering that environment, that wouldn't happen. And so when you see that, it is really cool to see. I knew Jason back when he was only like 10 years older than me, and that's a long time ago. Now, Jason and I were actually in different churches in Hermiston, Oregon together, and we got to know each other back then. And actually, the first time our youth pastor job came open, I reached out to him, but he was in the midst of something else and kind of deep in the middle of it, and so it just wasn't good timing. And then when the second time happened, I called, and it was good timing, and he came here. And I'm so glad that he and Lisa did, and it's just amazing to see what's going on. So let's give him a hand, and let's yeah, and it's unusual. It's not normal what's going on with their youth. It's good. It is healthy. It is strong. It is patient. It is kind. It's all those things. And so thank goodness. And we went through so many rocky years when it came to youth and leaders. And so now I need I need counseling now. So no, but it was a lot. And I heard some groans and moans around. But Jason has steadied that ship, and his faithfulness and his presence, and just being consistent. Just being consistent and being there. And I think that's awesome. And I appreciate him. And I'm so glad that he gets to go on this trip instead of me. And so so what I would appreciate from you guys is just to pray for them, because this is the pinnacle of their year. This is what they build toward. And they do it purposefully. Jason does it purposefully. And so pray for them. And we look forward to hearing about what happens every single year. And it's always an adventure. And we can't wait to hear what happens. They're going to have the whole Sunday to share with us when they get back. So, yeah. So thank you, Jason. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, all you helpers out there. And God bless you guys as you take off. So, hey. What do you guys? You guys don't even live here anymore, and here you are. That's good. How are you? Good to see you. Drove all this way to see me, no doubt. All right. So, and we got someone from Atlanta back here. Linda from Atlanta. Yeah. She drove all the way to see me, too. Isn't that awesome? And, no, that's good. She told me to keep it short, so we will. No, she didn't say that. I'm kidding. So, judge not. So, we're talking about how can we lighten burdens. We've kind of been on this for about 3 weeks. How can we lighten each other's burden? When we saw Jesus said, "Come unto me, my yoke is easy, my burden is light." Then he said a few chapters later, "You Pharisees, what they say, fine, do what they say, but don't do what they do, because they don't practice what they preach." As a matter of fact, they tie up heavy burdens and put them on people's backs. Burdens heavy that they're not willing to lift a finger to do themselves. And so the contrast that we saw was, how can we enter people's lives in moments, in times, in conversations, in places, in relationship, and how can we, when they leave our presence, how can their burden be just a little bit lighter? And last week we talked about attitude. What's with the attitude? We talked about being positive and not negative, and how negativity can really, it can really destroy us, and how being positive. And I started thinking, like, maybe someone could take that and say, well, that just means I want everybody just to feel better all the time. And for some reason that sounds bad. But is it? That you just want, and I had a few examples of this. Like, you guys, maybe she's still there. I don't go down that way very often. Do you guys remember the Little Caesars lady on Reed Market? Is she still there? No? So I don't know what happened, but she was out there with that guitar, that fake guitar, and going, like, dancing, socks pulled up to her knees, like some crazy colors, just dancing and waving at everybody, smiling. And every single solitary time I drove by her, I felt better. I was like, that's awesome. The other example is there's a lady, and I haven't seen her in a while either, but she's like a slow jogger around town. And I mean, if you're in here, I apologize. Maybe you think you're fast. I'm usually in a car. Maybe my perspective's off. So a jogger, sorry. She's a jogger, but she seems like she's taking her time. And every single solitary car, every single one. You guys know what I'm talking about? I don't know who she is, but every single time, I could be in the worst mood, driving home, doing whatever, and I'm like, and I see her, and I'm like, yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why not live our lives thinking, how can I make people feel better? There's worse things to do for sure. But today we're going to talk about this, which I think if we can employ this in our lives, people will at the very least feel heard when they're around us. And I feel like they'll have their burdens lightened if we can practice this. Judge not. Judge not. Now, this is from the Sermon on the Mount. This is Jesus preaching to the crowds. And he says, judge not. That judge not's the King James. He says it, first of all, the word judge that we're going to be looking at is this word in the Greek, krino. I'm sure that's perfectly pronounced. To decide, consider, as preferring one thing over another or determining the correctness of a matter, by extension to judge, pass judgment on, condemn in a legal sense, to judge, right? So in other words, it's looking at somebody and taking their actions or what they're doing or their situation and making a moral judgment or condemnation upon them as to whether they are good or evil, right? And just looking at them and saying, okay, that situation, that person is a good person, that person is a bad person. Versus discernment, which the Bible tells us to be discerning, right? The Bible tells us to be discerning. You can look at a situation and say, that's not a good situation, right? Those actions that person is doing right now, the actions that they are doing right now are not good actions. They're not going to lead to a good place. It's not healthy. They need help. Or if I go down this particular road, this is not going to be good. If I do this, it's not going to be right. If I don't do this, we can discern things. Judgment means to put myself in a higher, moral, superior place and to cast condemnation or moral okayness upon whatever subject it happens to be. Like picture a judge in a courtroom with the robes on, right? You're not in there to have a conversation at that point in time. Fortunately, I've never been in that situation before. So far, so good. I know there's not a river so long that there's not a crook in it, but so far, so good. Haven't been before. But when you're in, I've been in a courtroom where the judge was up there, and it's intimidating as all get out. And the other thing is that judge isn't there because he doesn't get up there and say, hey, it's cool, man. We're equals. Let's work this out. That's not what that judge is doing. That judge is up here behind his bench, elevated. You're down here for a reason, because according to the law and because according to our system, he sits higher than we do, and he has the ability to cast judgment on us. Right? That's the way it is. He's in a certain seat that we're not privileged to. Now, if we think about that seat, God is the one that can sit in that seat, right? That's his seat. He can do whatever he wants. As a matter of fact, Jesus, when the woman taken in the act of adultery comes before him, he kind of sits in that seat, doesn't he? He says, where are your accusers? And she said, there are none. It's such a great story. I won't recap it because I didn't expect to be here anyway. So, but she says, there's no accusers. And he said, does nobody condemn you? And she said, no one, Lord. And he said, neither do I condemn you. Go and sin no more, right? So Jesus does sit in that place. He can do that. We can't. We aren't called to do that. It's not our jobs. Although many Jesus followers have assumed that chair. Have we not? So, that's where we start. And Jesus says this about it. And I think it'll play through as we go through, and we'll see a better way. A better way. So, it says, do not judge. Remember, again, this is Jesus talking. And this verse is used to excuse everything. Don't judge me. Don't judge, right? Like you can do the most incredibly airheaded thing, and someone kind of said, whoa. And you're like, don't judge. Now, I'm not saying that you can't say, that was really dumb, or that wasn't very smart. But there's a path to that place. There's a path to that place. It's like, anyway, we'll get into it. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And with the measure you use, it will be measured to you. Now, it's funny how I used to read things in Scripture and now how I read things in Scripture, or what I used to think. And I used to read this and I thought, if we judge somebody, God's just waiting to judge us. Right? Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. And I always in my head, I thought, okay, that's God saying, if you judge your brother there, I'm going to judge you. I don't think that's what it's saying. I don't know why. Maybe everybody's like, why would you think that? But that's how I used to think. Now when I read it, I think what it's saying is, once you get down this avenue of this moral superiority that we can place ourselves on, and we look at people like, you're no good, you're good, and we have that attitude ends up swinging right back at us. It just ends up swinging right back at us. I've seen this a few times, and I want to say this, but maybe I shouldn't. So that probably means I shouldn't, huh, Joy? Yeah. So that's a filter thing. That really works. So I got to think of a different way to say it. But I'll just say I've seen this play out in that when people are grouped up and potentially maybe they leave a church or they do something together, and in a way that says, this isn't good enough for me, this isn't this isn't the way I think God would do it, whatever. And there's a group, I have seen that group go away. And then when one of those people in that group ends up kind of stepping outside, the group turns on that person. And then it just becomes this vicious cycle of one-upping one another. And it's just, it's not any way to be. It's not any way to be. It's again, this idea of just turning your brain off and turning a blind eye to everything that happens around you and saying, oh, everything is good. Everything is fine. Everybody's is just not, it's not reality. It'd be nice if that were the case. It's just not reality. We have to be discerning. I'll give you an example of the difference between discernment and judgment. When I grew up, we were not allowed to go to the movies. Okay? According to my church, my parents took me to the movies. Don't tell anybody. That's between us. We weren't allowed to go to the movies. Why? Because Hollywood is evil. Right? I mean, not right. I'm not saying right. That's not right. That's not. I mean, but it turns out it might be a little true. But what I'm saying is, instead of saying, be discerning, the way we looked at it was, everything is evil that comes out of Hollywood that's in the movie theater. For some reason, we could rent movies. I don't know what the loophole was there, but we were thrilled with that. But so the judgment was all movies bad, right? We cast a judgment on that. It was all evil, therefore we must stay away. And what happens is, I don't have to be discerning then. I can just judge everything. It's either black or it's white. It's either good or it's either evil. I make that judgment call, and I can just turn my brain off and live accordingly. But that's not what the Bible says. The Bible says to be discerning. So, is it not better to look at each individual? Maybe you want to go to the movies. How many of you have been to the movies in the last year? I can't stand the movie theater. There's so many people, and they talk, and they chew on popcorn, and they unwrap plastic for like an hour and a half, you know? And I'm like, I paid $84 to be in here watching this movie, and you're eating candy right behind my ear. But so I haven't been in the movies in the last year, but good on you. I hope you had a great time. But here's the thing. When you go, is it not better to say, hey, I want to go to a movie, and you look at the movie and you think, is this something that I need to see? Is it something I should see? Is it something I want to see? Is it something, if someone's like, it's really bad for these reasons, and you go and say, well, I really don't want that, so I'm not going to go to that movie. That's discernment. That's discerning. To look at everything and say, well, Bambi is evil because it came out of Hollywood, just like Fatal Attraction or something is. Dated myself there, huh? And there's just a difference between judging something, it's all evil, or it's all good. Because then it's just, you turn your brain off, you don't have to think, it's just you do what somebody tells you to do, and you judge it, and it's either evil or good or bad. And groups of people are the same way, and we miss out on the beauty of relationship that way. You miss out on the beauty of nuance. You miss out on the beauty of art. You miss out on so many things. Do not judge, or you too will be judged. For in the same way you judge others, you will be judged. With the measure you use, it will be used to you. It'll be measured to you. When you start judging, if I say, that's evil, or your lifestyle's evil, or you're a bad person because you're affiliated with such and such, what are they going to say about us? What are they going to say about me? You're evil because you're associated with people that hate me. Right? Nobody wins that way. The thing is, the powers that be, the 24-hour news cycle, all the clicks, the algorithms, and everything else is built to put into us judging each other, to put us on teams, because that's the way people stay in power, and that's the way people make a ton of money. They want us judging each other. They want us judging groups. They want us on teams. They want us in tribes. They want us in this constant battle with each other. Because then when you're on my side, this is your news station. When you're on that side, that's your news station. We're on teams, and our side's better than this side because we believe in this, or I put this flag up in my Twitter, or I did this, or this sign's in my yard, or this hat's on my head, or whatever it happens to be. We break up in teams, and we're fighting constantly instead of just being enhanced and being able to go in with the gospel of reconciliation to the entire world through the beauty of discernment instead of the divisiveness of judgment. So that's the first part. If not judgment, then what? If not judgment, then what? So I got this from the internet. This isn't mine. But it's kind of a conglomeration of different things. But I thought it was interesting. So again, if not judgment, then what? And so I was like, what's the core opposite of judgment? What's the core opposite of judgment? And there's 4 things, and they're very interesting. First one is acceptance. Embracing someone exactly as they are without demanding they fit your expectations. You ever heard this from a parent or from anybody? I love you, but don't bring that stuff around here. Anybody? This puts the period at the end of you. I love you. Period. I love you. Doesn't matter what else is going on. Doesn't matter what else. That's the baseline. That's the foundation. That's where we're at. I want you to know that no matter what. I was talking to somebody the other day, and they're going through a hard time. Life is so difficult, and it was hard, and just the way this person's thinking, and just some of the things. And I said, listen, if it helps, you can't get rid of me. I don't care what you say. I don't care what you do. I don't care what. I'm here for you, period. That's never going to change. You have the freedom to work out whatever you need to work out in my presence and know that I'm still going to be here. That's it. I don't know if I could do that for everybody. But man, what a great feeling that is to be like, I mean that. I'm here for you, right where you're at. It's not, but if you just tweak it, if you just change a little bit, if you'll just say the right things, then we can really be buddies. That's judgment. That's condemnation. That's saying you're not quite good enough yet. But maybe if you try hard enough, I'll let you in. Conditional love, conditional friendship are the worst things we can do to people. Acceptance. It's so much better than judgment. Embrace someone exactly where they're at. Exactly where they're at. Not demanding change. Right where they're at. That's the beauty. You know why? Think about how Jesus approached you. Think about where you were. A lot of us want grace for us and none for anybody else. A lot of me wants grace for me and not a lot for you. I'm so quick to be like, oh, I need grace, and you need condemnation because you cut me off in traffic, and that's no good. I don't know if you can tell or not, but I have a lot of problems in traffic. Embracing someone exactly. I love that. Acceptance. Curiosity. Replacing criticism or judgment with a genuine desire to learn why they act or feel a certain way. Curiosity. Why? You came in and yelled at me when I was handing you a food bag. I wonder what that's about. Instead of, I'm never giving that guy a food bag again. Or girl. I'm not giving that person anything. That person just eats crazy, blah, 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 blah. Replacing that criticism, replacing that judgment with curiosity. You ever been waited on in a restaurant? Anybody? Have you ever been waited on by a rude person? How? Your whole thing is to be so fake nice that I'm willing to almost double the bill and just give you the money, right? And by the way, can we all admit together collectively that tip culture is out of control? Out of control. What is it about turning around and pouring me a black cup of coffee determines whether I need to give you 18, 20, or 22% right in front of your face? Yeah, you're getting ready to prepare my food, and I'm supposed to write 0 in that column? I can't. That just seems awful. I can't, I want to keep if I write 0, I have to be able to see what you're doing the entire time. I have to put something in there. I'm going to consume what's in front. At any rate, if you're waited on and it's rude, what's our first thing? I'm not giving you no tip. You earn a tip. Have you ever thought about how, or maybe the alternative is to be curious about why a person whose job they're underpaid, and what makes up for that being underpaid is the fact that they're nice to you, so you'll tip them for their good service. How bad must their day be if they're treating you badly in that scenario? Maybe it's not that they're a jerk. Maybe it's that they had a horrible day. Maybe they got a horrible diagnosis. Maybe they just got horrible news. Maybe they need a bigger tip. Curiosity. It changes the game. Why is that person treating me the way they're treating me? Why is this relationship going sideways? Not that person's terrible because that person's awful, that person you shouldn't be around. Maybe they need somebody to be curious about their lives and to listen to them a little bit, huh? Acceptance, curiosity. You can tell I've been in Hawaii. They end every sentence like that. Hey? Huh? Hey? Huh? So anyway, I just wanted to brag that I was in Hawaii. All right, so empathy. Now, I know empathy is the horrible word in a lot of places, and I think what people call empathy is not really empathy a lot of times. I think empathy is simply this: individually, when you're in front of somebody and you're dealing with somebody, it's putting yourself in their shoes and attempting to understand their feelings. Period. Putting yourself in their shoes. Listen, not all of us have been dealt the same hand of cards in life. Was my home life perfect? No. But you know what I had? I was an only child, which is, older I get, the better that is. But I'm not complaining about that at all. But I had 2 parents in my house that loved me, never doubted it. Every night before we went to bed, I love you, I love you. Kiss on the cheek, kiss on the cheek. Go to bed. Every night of my life growing up, I had that. Stability. I never doubted who was going to be in my house when I got home. I never even thought about, would my mom be there? Would my dad be there? Never, ever even thought of it. I never got up for breakfast and wondered if we had food. Never. Not one time in my entire life have I ever woke up and thought, well, camping. But that's just because I'm lazy. But I've never actually had to worry about that. I've never had to worry about so many things. And then you get somebody, and we look out at some homeless guy walking, and we're like, yuck. We don't accept them. We're not curious about them. We certainly don't empathize with them. When they haven't been dealt the same hand of cards, you go to them and say, what was your home life like? I happen to know one person that's on the street today. She was born in prison. Taken away from her mom in prison, because you can't have a baby in prison. Put in the foster system. Abused forever in the system. Horribly abused in the system. Tried to marry some guy that was even worse. and have just lived a life of abuse and being used and kicked out and destroyed. And now, when you get to know her a little bit, you know what? You're like, it's amazing that you're breathing. That's such a win that you're alive. I could never survive the war and the hell that you've been through. But yet, when I got dealt my hand of cards and I stand up and I'm like, man, hypocrite right here, right? Empathy, putting yourself in their shoes and attempting to understand their feelings. If you'll notice, that actually requires some hard work of getting to know somebody, the hard work of relationship. The last thing is compassion. Showing kindness and care instead of evaluating their moral standing. Start there. Start there. So I think I can bear this path out as we move on here. The speck and plank principle. This is all in the same passage. This is all in the same order. The speck and plank principle. Jesus says, "Why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye?" Such a funny visual, I think. You're looking and you're like, hey, you got something in your eye and you got this beam sticking out of your head, It's like, yeah, okay, tell me about it. Tell me about how bad I am. And it's like, listen, what this does, this isn't saying that you're even more horrible and we don't need to pay attention to anybody that's got a speck in their eye. It doesn't say that. What this does, what Jesus is doing is showing us we're all on a level, we're on level ground when it comes to this. We're in the same battle. We're in the same place. We're not in a place of moral superiority over anybody else. We're in this together. We're in this together. We all have something in our eye. We all have something in our eye. And you know what? We all need a little help with that something in our eye. It's just the way it is. But Jesus is saying, hey, listen, we're all in this together. Because look, he says, why do you look at the speck of sawdust in your brother's eye and pay no attention to the plank in your own eye? How can you say to your brother, let me take the speck out of your eye, when all the time there's a plank in your own eye? You're in this together. So when we deal with whoever we deal with in this world, and if we want to make somebody's burden lighter, we've got to start with the fact that, hey, we're in this together. I'm not up here. I'm right here. We're in this together. We both have stuff, right? We got to deal with stuff. We got to deal with stuff. And it's not like, hey, get that speck out of your eye or we're not hanging out. Get that speck out of your eye, you can't come back in my house. Get that speck out of your eye, and it's like, wonk, 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 It doesn't work. We're all in this together. And there's a path to being able to speak effectively into somebody's life. There's a path to earning the trust to be able to say, hey, what you're doing I see is a little destructive. Let's talk about it. Check it out. He goes on to say, you hypocrite. First take the plank out of your own eye, then you'll see clearly to remove the speck from your brother's eye. He doesn't say to ignore the speck in your brother's eye. Speck's still there. The person still needs help with it. If I got something in my eye, I hate pain. I even hate inconvenience. If I got something in my eye, I'm like, joy. Where is it? Get it out. Help. I get it. I want it out of my eye. I don't want to be like, just ignore it. I'll be fine. Don't worry about it. No, I need it. I just don't want her judging me for it. But take it out of your eye, then you can help me, right? So then we get the pearls and pigs. Pearls and pigs. This is the last thing. Then you can go eat. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under their feet and turn and tear you to pieces. The way I used to look at this, and again, I think it's off. I used to look at this as I've got all this wisdom. I'm important. I've got good things to say, and there's just certain people that you can't say them to. They're just going to not appreciate it. And to some degree, that might be true. In some levels of, there are some toxic people, no doubt, that we have to put some distance between. No doubt about it. But what I think is happening here, I think what Jesus is saying is a pacing thing. It's a pacing thing. Think about it. If we go into somebody's life, if I just walk up on the street to somebody, you see this with let's think like an abortion clinic, right? You ever seen people picket at an abortion clinic? What are you doing? What are you doing? You think you're helping? I mean, if that's your thing, stop. I would stop. I wouldn't do it. But here's why. Because you're coming in someone's life. They're coming in. Think about it. Put yourself, again, empathy, acceptance, all those thought processes instead of judgment. If you get this, let's think of a 16-year-old girl. A 16-year-old girl finds herself pregnant. Scared to death. Doesn't know what to do. Trying to figure it out. Goes to Planned Parenthood to try to figure stuff out. Don't know anything else to do. Don't know what's happening. Walks in there and sees a bunch of people from such and such church saying, "You're a murderer. You're this. You're that. Yeah. This is horrible. This is bad." And they're like, "I can't ever go there. I can't." Right? Can some of the messaging be true? Absolutely. What's a better way? A better way for what is abortion? Why don't we get to know our neighbors? Why don't we get to know our kids in a way that if something like that happens, they know they're in a safe space, that they can come to you and they can tell you the truth. And they know they're going to be accepted no matter what bad happens, no matter what poor decisions are made. Acceptance isn't on the table, it's dealing with it. And when they come to you, or your neighbor comes to you, or you get to know somebody, then through that relationship, you can say, "Hey, listen, I don't think you should get an abortion, and here's why." And they accept it because they know they belong with you. You see, you could be telling the truth on a picket board. What your message might be absolutely 100% correct, but your pacing is terrible because we haven't done the hard work of relationship to build the trust to be able to come into somebody's life and say, "Hey, I see something in your eye. I see something in your life that you're struggling with. Maybe I can help. Maybe there's an alternative." And when we build up that trust through non-judgmental listening, empathy, acceptance, then we're able to truly speak into somebody's life and actually make a massive difference. If we do it too early, might be a pearl, but that pig don't care. It's like, I was just you ever been stuck in a pig pen? I grew up in West Virginia. There has been a time or two where I was stuck in a pig pen. They don't care. You're food. You're just something else. And I've had it. Have you ever been bit by a dog? You ever had a dog after you? That's the worst. And it's the dogs that don't bark. They're the ones. If you're on a bike and a dog doesn't bark and is running at you, that dog's serious. He's too serious to think about barking. He wants your calf muscle in his mouth. Yeah? If we come in too early, I had this couple. I've told this story before. There's this couple in church, and they were a great couple. So kind and so fresh and so just knew Jesus for the first time, and it was just their life was blossoming. And the one problem is, as far as I was concerned, being a young pastor, was that they lived together. They weren't married. They lived together. And so I had them over. They wanted to be a part of the church. They wanted this. So they came over and we're talking. And we had just kind of met. And I said, you two really what you need to do, first of all, is you need to get married. That's right. That's good advice. How many of you'd say, that's terrible advice? No, you shouldn't say that. You commit to one another. Commit to one another. That's good advice. You know what the problem was? I didn't have the foundation of relationship with them to be making that kind of a call in their life. And even though it was good advice, they turned on it and I never saw them again. You say, well, they should have been. No. I should have been. Did they have a speck in their eye? Yeah. Was it something that yeah, but you know what would have been way better? What if I'd have just been patient? What if I'd have just sat back and just let things play out a little bit? And then once I built up the trust, once we got to know each other a little better, and maybe they would come to me and say, well, what do you think about this? And maybe the Lord could have actually handled that instead of me trying to handle it. See what I mean? We have pearls, guys. We have beautiful story to tell. We have a beautiful way to live. We have a beautiful, ethical, moral way to go about our lives that is healthy and can keep us free from worry and free from guilt and free from shame. We got those things. Those are pearls. But man, sometimes we got to work on our pacing a little bit, right? And instead of judging and throwing our pearls at them and watching them kick them right back at us, why don't maybe we put the judgment aside, stop acting like we're up here and everybody else is down here. Not that you guys do that. I'm talking to the rest of the people out on the internet. Why don't we do that and accept people right where they're at, be curious about their lives, do our best to be empathetic to the circumstances that they're in, and show them real compassion, and then see whether the pearls that Jesus has so beautifully strung in our lives actually make a difference in our life and in those around us. Dear Heavenly Father, Lord, I just ask that you would help me, because I can be so easily, but I don't want to be one of those Pharisees that says something decent but doesn't do it. And God, everything in the world is easier to say than to do. And God, I just ask that you would help me to realize we all have a seat at the table. We're all invited. We're all blessed with the Imago Dei. And God, help me to be more accepting, to be more curious, to be more empathetic, and to be more compassionate. God, so that I can see that beam that I need help with get the help it needs, and that I can be a part of the healing salve that helps others with whatever they may be going through. God, help us to judge not. Help us to discern. Give us your Spirit. Guide us through this life, God. And show us the Jesus way. In Jesus' name.